Hey everybody, my name is Yyanthire. So with the last blog coming out and the final boss of the demo, Apprentice Dragon Baron, being defeated, I figured it would be a good time to go ahead and start to wrap up and get this demo out. So this blog may be incredibly long and there's going to be a ton of elements to it. The first one is actually going to be, I'm going to be going through and checking out all the, these rocks and trees and stuff like that, and just kind of making sure stuff like this kind of goes away and I sort of cut it out. Alright, so I just finished cleaning up the last of it. Are there little bits and pieces and odds and ends everywhere? Maybe like right there. Yes, of course, there's going to be tiny bits everywhere, right? And all that kind of stuff, but that's alright. Let's go ahead and move on. I'd like to actually move on and add a lot more particle effects. So I only added one about right here, but I'm going to kind of riddle the entire map with a lot more. Alright, so I went ahead and just tossed all the new particle effects in there. Just kind of see them. I just throw them around everywhere. Doesn't really matter right now because I'll be redoing all their placements. But as you can see, there's like some little ripple effects. There's a bunch of butterflies, snow, smoke, fireflies, all this kind of stuff. Just a ridiculous amount of stuff. As you can see, there's a sun ray right here. This is just an example of pretty much everything almost crammed into a tiny little spot. Let's kind of walk around a little bit more. Get some interesting effects there. As you can see, we're out of the snow, and now we got some rain. Some various fireflies and stuff, some glowing rocks, bunch of leaves, etc., etc. So I want to kind of use these particle effects just to basically liven up the environment a little bit, but also kind of use it as like a base point to make it sort of a bit more unique. So in certain areas, you'll be able to tell, oh, hey, there's a bunch of leaves flowing here. You kind of inherently recognize that. So let's go ahead and I want to hop out of here, and I'm actually going to start to more tastefully add it to the environment, so it's not just like a ridiculous amount of particle effects going off everywhere. Alright, so I added in all of the particle effects. I wanted to do just a simple amount of them, just kind of make it tasteful on certain special areas like we're seeing here, Apprentice Dragon Baron's area. I really added a lot of extra effects just to make it look a little bit cooler, including like a little light rays effect, if you can see it here, if it's picking up on the screen recorder. But got a bunch of these leaves, like little fires and stuff. Let's go ahead and let's hop around to all the various areas and check them all out. So we're making our way on into the secret area. Let's go ahead and check out what's going on here. Plenty of fireflies buzzing around everywhere. Of course, another ray of light hitting this tree. Bunch of other black fireflies and stuff kind of floating around. So here's the Twin Metasta lair. So the entire area, as you can see here, just covered in this sort of like falling snowish kind of stuff. Here's Flame Metasta Cirrus. He actually has like a little rain going on, just light rain, nothing too crazy. Where he's standing, I actually put these little water ripples, so when you're actually fighting him, he's gonna have these cool little ripple effects going underneath him. Otherwise, just kind of it's there. And here's Matasha's area. Nothing too fancy, just some butterflies flying around. I think it gives a good little ambient effect, so I'm quite liking it. The Squadron of Baron has a little bit more going on. As you can see, all these leaves. There's these like little floating dust particles flying around. Some fireflies over here. And then finally, we're back home. As you can see, a bunch of little butterflies floating around, little fireflies here. Nothing too crazy. I don't want to go too ridiculous on it. I went through the entire map. I'm just showing you the highlights here, but the entire map's covered in simple stuff like this, so I think that should be pretty good for the particle effects. Next up actually relates to all this nature. As you can see here, we've got these nature and all that kind of stuff blocking the areas. I kind of like these as like a blocker, however, I don't like how it's just like always going to be nature. I want to do some more different kind of shrubbery to just sort of block off the player's path. I definitely want the player to still know that they can destroy these and get nature. However, for the most part, most of these paths are just kind of like locked off. As you can see here, we can't really get past it in any way. I really want to just change it out and give it something more unique. Alright, so I mocked up some little shrubberies here, so these are going to replace the nature to an extent. For the most part, they're just a bunch of plants, colored specific to the environment, of course. These will be destroyable. I imagine I'm going to have them destroyable in probably about a hit. To teach the player early on, very important, I'm going to keep everything in line, so we're going to have a nature, and then flanked by it is going to be these little shrubberies, so the player comes in here, attacks, realizes they can destroy the shrubbery, and realize they can also destroy the nature, and collect nature as a result of it. It's going to be a pretty important early game teaching mechanic. So, but for the most part, the rest of it's all going to be just destroy the shrubberies and move on. Actually, a very important game design change is that the nature themselves are actually going to become more important, so less sporadic around the world. Right now, they're just everywhere. So you get up to your cap of 100 nature real fast. But for the full demo, there's going to be a little bit less nature, a little bit more spread around, so it's more of a reward to acquire it rather than just something just so abundant. That's the exact same thing I'm doing with the water. So the water is only in like 2 specific areas currently. So with that, with the home, it takes 25 nature just to summon your second unit. I'm actually going to get rid of this and make it so that it's just a flat cost of making sure that you have enough supply for it. This will just make it so that when players die, they'll be able to get back into the fight pretty much immediately and then go back and retry the boss rather than having to have them grind up. I'm really going to aim towards making nature and water and then eventually pages and scriptures more unique and more specific so that they are for important upgrades. I really want these resources to be specific for critical upgrades and stuff like unlocking new spells, upgrading your units, etc, etc. Alright, so while placing shrubberies, I thought it would be fun to sort of set up a little area after the squadron. So here we are at the squadron boss fight, and as you can see, I set up some shrubberies around here, just kind of blocking off the rest of the area. So this two-way directional here is actually, I set it up with some enemies, and we're actually going to come up here, we're going to see some more enemies. So there's actually the Baron boss fight summons a Vortex, and then the Anguish Incarnate, and then the Anguish Incarnate chases after the player. In addition, the Vortex, if you get close to it, it stuns all of your units and makes them unable to move or attack. So I thought it would be kind of cool to set up a little Anguish Incarnate right here. There's also an Anguish Incarnate right there. And then there's a Vortex here and a Vortex there. And all of these are essentially just kind of showing the player off Baron spells before they actually get to the boss fight. So they come up through here. And they're like, alright, I'm just making my way up here. And then they get ambushed by this, the Anguish Incarnate, and just kind of comes over and attacks them. It's like, uh-oh. And then they see the Vortex, and they're like, okay, what happens if I get close to the Vortex? Just to kind of pre-teach the player about Baron skills before they get into the boss fight, and they're like, uh-oh, what do I do? And they just kind of like learn through the boss fight, which is okay design, but I kind of like it where you go into the boss fight and you're like, okay, I know what this is, so I know how to deal with it on my first try, rather than having to go in and fight it multiple times just to figure everything out. Then, as you can see up here, I set up Matasta, 2 Vortexes, and then 2 Anguish Incarnates. So as you come up here, so like, let's say you take this path, you come up here, and your units get ambushed by this one, and then as soon as they start to make their way up here, they'll get ambushed by this one. And then they gotta deal with these Vortexes with a Matasta shooting at them at the same time. We kind of come up here, so here's the secret area. We can ignore that. And then we have some enemies right here. So there's some normal Arcoils of Matasta, and then 2 Anguish Incarnates on the sides, and a Vortex right here. Coming on up here. Anguish Incarnate here, Anguish Incarnate there, so you're trying to make your way up, they start to ambush you. And then coming on back here, I think this one's also an Anguish Incarnate, but we have Anguish, I think there's another Anguish right here, then just a bunch of various shrubberies just to kind of block the way. You can kill all these off and make it easier to walk through here, but during the initial phase where you're starting to engage these enemies, that's kind of all blocked off. So we got a bunch of Arcoils, 2 Matastas, and then some Vortexes strewn about. And then that's essentially the end of it. You kind of come up through here, you get a nice brief walk, and then some nature here if you want it, and then the boss fight. And then actually past the boss fight, I actually set it up so there's some shrubberies blocking off some paths, but there is 2 waters right here, so water here, a water there. And then you come up here, there's another blockage right here, and then a water. Just like some little secrets, so that the player can acquire some more water. Yeah, coming back here, so here's the entire area. So I'll have to actually test this out and see how it plays. But for the most part, I think this would be a cool little design. It's primarily focused at just getting you able to control your 3 units, because as soon as you are done fighting the squadron of Baron right here, you're able to basically have every spell in the demo and then every unit in the demo, assuming that you fought this boss last. And then from here, you're just kind of like learning about it. I wanted to give the player a little bit of a insight into the Baron boss fight here, with these enemies, but on top of that, most importantly, let them play around with their third unit a little bit before going into the boss fight and having to take it all on. So let me go ahead and I'm going to switch views, and we're going to actually test all this out and make sure it works. But for the most part, this should be the end of all the shrubberies I need to place. Okay, let's check out the shrubberies first a little bit, and then we'll go into a fight so we can kind of make our way through here and fight our way through here with 3 units. So I figured for the shrubbery placement, I'll start at the beginning. So here we are at the home, and as you can see here, we got some shrubberies here. These are tougher shrubberies, so you'll have to... This one will die in 1 hit, but this one will die in 3 hits, and then we have a nature in the middle. So I just want the player to be able to see these natures, see what they are, and then see that they're giving them nature when they kill them. But I also want the player to be able to start to get exposed to looking for these shrubberies, as that'll be an indicator of something that they can destroy to be able to create a path for themselves. As you can see, another nature here, and then the same design right here, a little shrubbery, and then an nature right there. So whichever the way the player goes, they're going to learn about nature and they're going to learn about shrubberies. Nature here, I didn't touch that one. Coming back here, I removed all of the nature, replaced them with shrubberies, and then 1 nature right here, just so that I want the nature to be abundant, but not too abundant. So that's the current design. Coming up through here, this is where it gets a lot better. So as you remember before, it was a bunch of natures just blocking off the path right here, but now I have a single shrubbery right there, and then a bunch of them right here. So you kind of go through here, you see these, and you're like, okay, I can destroy these. However, if you have a good eye, you can see this one right here. You just gotta shoot it once, and it'll die, and you'll be able to pass on and go straight to Matosh. And same thing over here, a bunch of shrubberies just blocking off the paths. Nature back here. Coming back around the side round, I didn't change too much, just shrubbery and nature. Same thing, kind of stuff, not too much going on, just some natures around here and stuff like that. And then shrubberies blocking off the entrance to the Matasta lair. As you can see, the entire Matasta lair entrance has been replaced by shrubberies. So we got some here, a bunch of here, just all this stuff, just sort of blocking stuff off. And I sort of set it up in a way so that I have 3 stages of shrubberies. So the base shrubbery dies in 1 hit, then there's a secondary shrubbery. Let's see if I can find... It's not seeing one here, but there's another set of shrubberies. Oh, it's actually right here. There's 1 style right here and another style right there. Those die in 2 hits, and then the big one, which is always this one with this giant leaf on it. As you can see, it's hard to zoom in a little bit. This giant leaf right here is just going to signify that that's a dense shrubbery, so it'll die in 3 hits. I didn't touch the natures back here, leave those alone. As you can come up here, the right side of the path didn't change because there was nothing there blocking path. However, this one has been replaced with a bunch of shrubberies, so you kind of come up through here. See all the shrubberies, you got to fight your way through, just like normal. So that is the Matasta lair. Let's go ahead and make our way over to the twin Matasta lair. So as you can see, we come up through here. Here's Matosh, and we can either go through here, the normal route, and then here's the back route. So there's a bunch of shrubberies you can destroy. Same set of shrubberies over here. There's some over here. Simple little things. However, I did keep the abundance of nature right here. So this is kind of like the gold mine of nature. If you are hunting for nature for whatever reason at the end of the game and need a bunch quickly, they're all right here. Here's some more shrubberies. Nothing too crazy. More shrubberies, more shrubberies. Just a whole bunch of just plants everywhere. Coming all the way back here. And then I did block off this section right here. So there's a bunch of shrubberies right here that blocks it off. You destroy those, then you get access to this water. And so that's coming to a close. Let's go ahead and check out the squadron area. So here we are at the squadron area entrance. There is Matosh right here, so you come up through here. There's some shrubberies, just blocking stuff off. A bunch of enemy ambushes right over here. Some shrubberies here blocking any nature. Some more shrubberies. And then some more nature right here. So this is the second biggest gold mine of nature in one spot. The other one had 5, this one has 3. And then here we are. We're at the squadron fight. Only one little shrubbery back there, nothing too crazy. But for the most part, that's going to be it for the placement of all of the new nature blocking off the player's path. Alright, so here we are. Let's go ahead and make our way up through here. Let's take out these first. And then we'll come back through and we'll go up the other way. Just going to show all that off. Let's go ahead and try and kill all these things off. Dying pretty quickly, so that's good. Those ones are dead. I'll just kill everything off. Just to fully clear out the path. And dead. Okay, so let's go ahead and start to make our way up through here. We'll zoom out a little bit. Just a little bit more. Oh, there it is. So there is the Anguish Incarnate. You kind of see, you come around the corner and you start to see him, you're like, uh-oh. You start to run away because he's chasing after you. But now he's dead. There is the Vortex, too. Let's go ahead and walk on up here. Let's go ahead and get caught, because why not? This guy didn't get caught. Oh, here comes the Anguish Incarnate, too. That's funny. If you get too close up, he'll start to attack you. No, he killed himself. And then the Vortex is about to die. We can kill it faster, though. And that's gone. Let's make our way up through here. And then here's another ambush. Let's see if we can just sort of like kill him off faster. Nope, not quite. But that's alright. So here we are. So vortexes. Here's this guy. Let's kill him off super fast. Without getting caught. Oh, I got caught. But yeah, actually, I got caught on the tree, not the vortexes. Let's go ahead and attack the vortexes. Uh oh, here they come. Forgot that I gave them the ability to move. There you go. Okay, so they're all dead. Let's actually go back. I'm going to make my way up through the other way, just for fun. Alright, so we're back over here. Let's go ahead and actually, I'll just cast the fire spell for a quicker cast. Already destroyed. Let's go ahead and make our way up through here. So we're walking up here, and oh, there's the ambush. That time it was a little bit easier to fend off. And here is the vortex. Here he comes. Whatever it is. Giant vortex. Almost dead. One more cast. They're pretty tanky, which I kind of like. Oh, I totally missed. Nah, it's gonna die anyway. Let's go ahead and make our way up through here. And here we are again. Let's go ahead and fight our way up through here. So here's those guys, and here comes the Anguish Incarnates. Oh, big hit. Almost hit my units. That one's dead. Let's see if we can quickly kill this one. Yeah. Super fast. With your third unit, you just kill these things so fast. Oh. Do a normal Mystic Bolt there. Walking my way up here. Oh, here's the other one. He's dead. Oh, no. Too slow. Anyway, so there's the next vortex. Kind of blocking the path off. Dead. And then here's the next big group, so gotta run away from him. Uh-oh. Big mistake on my part. I didn't move fast enough. Seems like if you stay in there long enough, though, it'll cast again. Like that. Oh, I took another big hit. That's alright. Let's go ahead and here we are up here. Oh, here they all come. Just kind of like get them to die. Here comes all of the entire squadron, almost. Let's go ahead and make here. Do a quick cast right here. I think I'm about to... Yeah, I'm about to die. I knew that was happening. Oh, if I don't move, I was going to die again. Oh, we're down a single unit. That's alright. Let's see if I can just, like, run away a little bit. I'm going to go grab the other unit back. And all of our boys are back. Let's go ahead and heal them. Back to full health. Let's make our way up through here. Guess I should pay more attention to being able to use my healing spell. I've just been kind of running through everything, so I haven't really been using extra stuff like that. All my utility skills. Namely because I'm just like going through and testing. So let's see if I can try and get this guy killed real quick. Oh. Almost one more. There we go. Make our way back up through here. We're almost actually done with all this fighting. There's a bunch of vortexes. The pathway's kind of pretty well blocked off. I kind of like that because you got the two vortexes that are really blocking you, and then you got this guy. So you gotta really get up close and personal if you want to try and kill him. One-shotting these fire arcwalls is really useful for this. Uh-oh! Never mind. The vortex died. Once more. Yeah, he killed himself. Cool. And here we are. All the vortexes just slowly die over time, so that's alright. Oh, died before I can even kill it. So there's a bunch of various bushes and stuff like that. All of our shrubberies. Kill a few of them off, because why not? And then let's make our way up to the boss fight. Love all the floating leaves through here. It kind of feels a little bit more ominous, especially with nothing going on, because there's no combat or anything. Here's the fight. And then, of course, we got our cool little nature back here and stuff like that, but that's the end of this. So let's go ahead, and I got a bunch of more stuff to actually continue to work on, but that was a fun little interlude. Alright, so with all the nature objects switched out for shrubberies, as you can see here, I went ahead and adjusted all of the resource values. So now there's a lot less nature around the world, and as a result, you won't have to collect as much, especially when it comes to spawning in new disciples. So let's go ahead and head on over to the home, show off some of the changes I've made there. So first, when I hover over it, as you can see here, there's now two little objects, and if you've played the 2D version of the game, you know that this is the disciple, and then this is the magician. Kind of just spoiled it there by hovering over it, but when I hover over this one, I added a little bit of a text to tell you what's going to go on. In addition, I switched it out so that it's no longer using nature. It instead just requires 10 supply. So as the player can see here, they're at 10 supply, but as soon as they get more supply, let's go ahead and add all of that. As you can see here, now we got 30 supply, and that little helpful pop-up message. Now we can go ahead and spawn more disciples. Just click it twice. So there we go. So now we got all 3 disciples, and then panning over to the other one, this is the advancement. So previously you were able to just simply advance all of your units to magicians. I've actually changed that out, so now it requires the Tome of Apprenticeship that you get from fighting the final boss of the demo, Baron. In addition to that, I've also renamed the magicians to apprentices. I feel like that's a bit more of an accurate name for them, as they're basically the apprentices before they actually pick a, essentially a mystic pathway to go down, sort of like an elemental pathway. Let's go back over here. So as you can see here, it requires 100 nature, 10 water, and 10 pages. So you'll get the 10 pages from defeating Baron. I imagine the player is going to probably pick up at least 100 nature just from simply running around the map, because there's plenty over here. I believe there's about 155 units of resources worth on the map currently, so there's like a couple here. But I also adjusted it so it's just simply a set of 5 for whenever you destroy one of these nature objects. So you'll get 5 nature resources. If you destroy a water, you will get 2 water resources. And then pages are exclusively from specific enemies, so bosses, to be more bluntly. So if I were to go ahead and try and unlock the advancement, notice first I'll need all of the resources. So I go ahead and just snagged all the resources. As you can see here, there's a fourth one. That's if you've played the 2D version of the game, you know that there's a fourth resource called a scripture. We won't be getting into this in the demo, but eventually we will. It's like the ultimate tier resource that you'll get from fighting, or essentially you'll get from the ultimate bosses and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so coming back over here, if I were to try and click this, now it's just saying that we're missing the Tome of Apprenticeship. Let me go ahead and get that. As you can see, I just threw Baron over here and killed him. So now we have the Tome of Apprenticeship, and now we are ready to unlock the spell. Let's go ahead and click it. There we go. So we unlock the spell Advance to Apprentice. As you can see, it's right here. We can also pop up the spell book and see it. So under the Disciple tab, under this new tab, Advancement tab, previously this spell is going to be locked until you unlock it right there through the home. Let's come back here and click it, and you gotta get a whole description, get some lore and all that kind of stuff. And just a whole bunch of basic stuff. So it's gonna transform your units into an apprentice. This is gonna be cast basically the same way it was in the 2D version of the game. So it's just a simple all cast, self cast. There is a if you remember from the 2D version again, there is a simple way to cast it where you can just press W, and then if you press F3, all the units will cast it on themselves. However, I don't imagine the player is going to know that if they're brand new to the game. So if you just go ahead and press W and then right click for the time being, it's just going to do it on one single unit. I don't like it, but I don't care too much for it. As you can see here, we got a cool little effect, and then the unit's right here, and then here is our new unit. Go ahead and zoom in for you. The Apprentice, basically just a white-robed version of the Disciple. I think it looks pretty cool this way, with all the purple trim and stuff like that. So pretty cool little change. This was done pretty much just through retexturing the unit, so I think that turned out pretty great, so I hope you guys like it as well. So the Apprentice, just in the demo, is going to have all the same spells and is going to have significantly more health. You can actually go ahead and head into the spell book. You can see we have the Apprentice and the Disciple here. You can click the Apprentice and get some lore, and then see that, oh, they have 5 times normal health, 5 times normal health regeneration, 5 times normal mana, and 15 mana regeneration, which is pretty big. But all the other stats and stuff are pretty much identical, so nothing too crazy there. I just wanted it to be the end-all, so that when players actually complete the demo and eventually complete the main part of the game, that after defeating Baron, they go ahead and advance forward, and now they are in a new world with 3 apprentices. Actually start to advance them here. This guy. There it goes. Cool little effect again. I'll show off one more time. And I'll zoom in. It's a similar effect when you unlock a spell, so here we go. So there we go. We got 3 apprentices now running around with tons of health and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be essentially the main reward of the demo. Well, one of the plans I had was to try and get different textures into each of the little environments, just so we kind of mix it up a little bit, so it's not just everything so orange. However, I ran into some really weird graphical issue. I am not quite sure how to fix it, so I'm probably just going to scrap it. I like how the look of the environments already. We got some cool particle effects in there, so I think they're all kind of unique enough. But it would have been cool to have this, but I'm not too worried about it. I'll have to kind of look around and ask around and see what could possibly be going wrong here, because this is super strange. As you can see, the fall off is just so weird, and I keep I'll move around, you kind of keep seeing it, and it's really bad in game since the camera's like around here, so it's like you can just see it cut off. It's super weird. Anyways, I'm going to move on with that. Alright, so I want to show off all the various performance features for the game, so that if you're running on a weaker PC, you'll have some more options of adjustability. So let's actually head into the settings. So coming in here, so the first thing you can turn on is the Show FPS button. It starts off default hidden, but you can just turn it on. The next thing is, of course, a feature that was already in the game in the 2D version, but is still in the game, of course, in the 3D version, the FPS cap. So right now you can set it to 300, 60, or 30. So if you're on a weaker PC, you probably want to set it to 30. But on regular or more moderate PCs, maybe 60, but for the most part, you probably should leave it uncapped. Then, of course, there's also the resolution. Reducing this will improve FPS. Even if your whole monitor, for example, is 1920 by 1080, if you reduce it further, you'll probably get some better quality, or better FPS, I should say. And then lastly was the quality adjustments. Kind of a simple little bit of adjustments. High sets the back-end Unity quality settings, essentially. Some sort of simple things I just set up in the back end for global quality options. As you can see here, we have 3 different options to choose from. In addition to this, this is also going to affect things in the game. So high is normal. If you switch on over to medium, what's going to happen is it's actually going to make it so that the particle effects that you see in the world will disable a lot sooner. Right now, or as the base level, they'll disable at about 100 units away. This cuts it in half, so they'll disable at about 50 units, just so that it's like only things that are immediately affecting the camera are going to be the particle effects shown. Otherwise, they're just going to get disabled. Might be able to, yeah, see, you can kind of look right here, get it a little bit closer. Turns them on, and you start to get a little bit more away. Turns them off, and then eventually, or essentially, if I were to switch this back to high, you should see them get turned back on. See, there you go. So just a little bit further view distance, just on these PCs struggling to keep up with these particle effects. And then the major one, if you need some serious adjustments, you can switch it all down to low. That is actually going to disable the grass and disable the particle effects completely, except for main particle effects like the one on the home, and then of course spellcast particle effects we definitely don't want to turn off, but all of the aesthetic based ones, so the grass particle effects that are on the tree and the butterflies floating around, those all get disabled, just to increase your FPS just a little bit more. Alright, so I went ahead and added the boss's name above their head, just so that when you're fighting them, it's kind of a little bit easy to tell what's going on here. Most importantly, you're able to see what the enemy is. In particular, for mini-bosses and bosses, know exactly who you're fighting. So in this case, you can clearly see Matosh the Fire Archwell. In fact, it's even easier if you zoom in a little bit. You can see it right there. Kind of made it so that it's not super apparent, so it doesn't really get in the way of the fight too much, but I want it to be obvious enough so that you see it, and you're like, okay, I'm fighting Matosh, and if I don't kill him this round, I'll actually be able to check him out in these spell books. Let's go ahead and open this up. And then it should be under the Discover tab and then Mini Boss tab. As you can see, this, get rid of that. These little things mean that it's a brand new thing that you just saw. So let's go ahead and click on Matosh. And as you can see, you kind of read everything about him, but it just sort of makes it easier to be able to find out who you're fighting and then be able to figure out all of their abilities and whatnot. So as you can see, he's got a dodging spell, he's got his burst fireball spell, you can read up on his lore, all that kind of stuff. So that's just a little bit to help the players. This is going to be just on mini bosses and bosses, but for the most part I think that should be a good little, just a little helpful indicator, and if anything, let the player know a little bit about the lore of the game and what they're actually fighting, rather than just a bunch of random enemies that are slightly stronger than the other ones. So I figured out what was going on here. What turned out and what was pointed to me on Reddit. I posted this issue on Reddit and got a bunch of great feedback about the mip-map settings. So as it turns out, I just foolishly enabled this fade out mip-maps option. So let's go ahead and turn it off and press apply. And as you can see, it goes just like normal. It has no weird fading out aspect. So that'll be cool. I'll go ahead and actually start to attempt to detail all of the little sections of the world. So the Matasta lair, Twin Matasta lair, and so forth, just to kind of give it a little bit of a better viewing. Definitely not this super harsh cyan going on here. I just set this up for displaying that issue, but for the most part I'm going to have it a pretty light sort of cyan all over the entire area, but nothing too egregious as what you're currently seeing right here. So here we are at the 5 arc roll fight. Let's go ahead and get in here. So just a small amount of a little bit of cyan, just to kind of liven everything up. As you can see here, just a little bit, just a hint. This kind of juxtaposed with all of this rain falling down, just to make the area just a little bit more unique, kind of little bit more iconic rather than just everything being the straight orange. So quick little run through them. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest to all of the other areas. But before I do that, I want to increase all the size of all the mini-bosses. Someone actually rightfully commented that all of the mini-bosses and bosses are just so small compared to basically all the normal enemies. They're about the exact same size. So here's what Matosh is looking like, kind of a little bit beefier. Let's go ahead and hop through all of the other mini-bosses. The Apprentice Dragon Baron doesn't really need an adjustment. I think he's unique enough as it is, but all the other ones can get a little bit of a buff in size. So, alright, so quick peek at all the sizes. As you can see here, here's the base models, the Lesser Arcoil and the Lesser Matasta. Let's go ahead and start. We'll start from left to right. So as we can see here, we have Varus, just a little bit bigger. We have Sirena and Sylphus. Sylphus is just a little bit larger. We have Kylen. We have Ilstasta, we have Surus, Matosh, and of course, Apprentice Dragon Baron. So, a little bit bigger, a little bit more obvious in the field when you're actually fighting them. Alright, so let's just do a quick overhead view of everything so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. So as we see here, here's the normal starting area. Kind of come down here, we got all of the cyan for the Matasta layer. Going up here, here's Matosh's area, a little bit of red, and of course the Squadron of Baron area, a little bit of red too. Coming up over here, some white, almost like a white ash kind of thing, like the there's like this snow ash type stuff falling from the sky. That kind of feeling going on over here in the Twin Matasta layer. Coming over here to the secret area, add a little bit of purple just to kind of liven it up a little bit. And then the main one is Baron's area. Everything's a little bit more burnt and a little bit of various types of colors just to kind of make it pop a little bit. But let's go ahead and hop in game and actually check them out. Alright, so here we are in Surus's area. A little bit bright. I might want to tone this down a little bit, but nice kind of vibrant cyan color with all this rain falling down. It looks pretty cool. Here's Matosh's area. I really think it kind of livens it up with this red grass here. It really makes it a bit more of a unique spot. Here's the Twin Matasta layer. Kind of feels a little bit like snow. Kind of like that. I want it to be more of like an ash kind of feeling, but I think this gets the point across, and I'm quite liking it. The Squadron of Barons area is kind of the same as Matosh's. Just a little bit of red. Kind of livens it up. I really like this red with this orange. I think it really goes together quite well and makes a nice aesthetic to the world. And here's Baron's area. I really think that this dark grass and all the burnt kind of look to it really vibrants up the area and really makes it like a menacing type area, especially with all these leaves flying around. There's a lot of aggression going on. The dark spots look real nice. You can see there's a good one right here. Right back here in this corner. It looks quite good, especially juxtaposed with all these colors and all this orange and stuff. And when you get into the fog, it just darkens everything up a little bit more and just makes it a little bit more intimidating in a sense. So I'm quite enjoying the little setup here. So I wanted to make it more visually apparent if the unit is caught in the vortex. So let's see what's going on here. So you can see when they get caught in the vortex, they go up and down and start spinning around. When they're done, they land back on the ground and stop spinning. But as you can see, we got caught again. So let's see. Once we're done, and we can get out. So it's much more visually indicative. I think it looks pretty cool, and it just tells the player that they've been caught. So I think that's a cool little effect. So I hooked up some nifty little death animations for all of our nature objects. Let's go ahead and check them out. Let's go ahead and we'll start with the normal shrubbery. I'll zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, it shrinks, turns all black, and then it has this little shooting up little particle effect. Let's go ahead and try and kill off the nature. And similar thing, it shoots up little green beams. Let's go ahead and kill the water essence. Yeah, some cool little bluish, purplish beams come out. So I just wanted to set up that just because when you do kill them, they basically just delete themselves, so it looks a little boring. So a little bit of a shrinking effect going on and stuff like that. Really livens them up and gives them a good little death animation. Alright, so I'm starting to rig up a pretty cool adjustment. So with this one, we're going to actually be attaching spells directly to some specific bone on the model. So in this case, we have the Arcoil. With the Disciple, I haven't changed anything, but the Arcoil, I set it up so that the bone is right there on his face. So let's go ahead and, when he casts, take a look at him. There you go, see how the spell is now following his head. I think that looks way cooler. Let's go ahead and start with the Apprentice and the Disciple. As you can see, It's all attached to their hand, and then they shoot it off. Pretty cool. Let's go to the next one. And here is the lesser gargoyle. Here's the Matasta model. And finally, Baron. So I set up the Matasta models for casting, however, they shoot those fireballs into the sky, as you can see. Let a few more of them rain down, but they shoot these all around, and there's not really much effect. You just kind of, it's in his mouth, and then it's gone, which is less than ideal. I want to see if I can make something where they shoot up in the sky or something like that, just to be a little bit more obvious as to what they're doing. As it turns out, there's just a little bit of adjustments I needed to make it so that the projectile fires from wherever the bone joint I selected. Let's go ahead and check it out with the Disciple. Let's see, he lifts it up, but then he throws it right there, so it actually comes from his origin. Normally it would spawn, I don't know, about right there, but this time it's actually attached to and being sent from his hand. It's actually a little bit easier to see from Baron. As you can see here, he'll shoot the spells and they'll fall from his head and go directly to you. So that one kind of falls down. Let's see if he'll do his big spell. There it is. You see it'll slowly make its way. Pretty cool. Alright, so for all the spells that shoot up in the air, I mocked up a little thing that'll be more visually depictive. So let's go ahead and cast it. This is actually going to be Cirrus's fireball. So let's see what goes on here. So it shoots it up in the air, and then you can see all the fireballs rain down. I think that's a lot more visually indicative. You can very clearly see that he's now casting the spell. In this case, it's the Disciple, but in the real case, it'll be Cirrus himself and all of his equivalent spellcasters. Actually, with some minor adjustments, I was able to get it so that the spell, the physical projectile spell versus the wind-up spell, is now being cast instead. So this looks way cooler. Let's go ahead and see it. As you can see, this is the wind-up cast version, and it was originally just floating up into the air, but now so it actually is firing off the projectiles that are being shot down. So I think that looks way cooler. Alright, so a really important feature of the game is going to be the introductory tutorial system. I wanted to keep this one super bare bones, very simple, and just kind of give you the basic hotkeys and all that kind of stuff to work on. So let's go ahead and start up the game. Alright, so as soon as you load in, the tutorial is just going to automatically start. So as you can see here, you can pan the camera by moving the cursor to the edge of the screen or by using the arrow keys. Very simple little commands just to figure out what to do, especially if you've never played an RTS or RTS style game before. So let's go ahead and pan the camera a little. Now we can use the right mouse button to move. Then the main tutorial about opening the spell book contains info about units and spells, and it can be opened via the spell button. You can click this button, or you can press the hotkey. The hotkey, of course, is P. And then we're going to go ahead and grab out our Mystic Bolt. As you can see, we got to go to the Mystic section, then Disciple, then General, and then here's our Mystic Bolt. You can click it, read about it. I really wanted the player to be able to just kind of take a quick look at this, click it, and kind of see, oh, there's a bunch of detail about this, and get an idea that, oh, hey, there's going to be a bunch of detail in here. Very important. Let's go ahead and drag it to the hotbar. So now that it's there, we want to close the spellbook, and then we can go ahead and cast it. I'm not sure how I feel about the LMB/RMB. I think I would prefer to spell those out. However, it's important to let the user know that you can use left mouse button or right mouse button. Let's go ahead and click the hotkey of Q, then press right mouse button to cast. Wait for him to finish casting. Alright, so now he's done casting. We can go ahead and click the mini map, and we can access the main map viewer. So this has the pretty much everything, all the main stuff like jump to a unit, jump to your home, and then there's going to be some waypoints after that. But at the very beginning, there's nothing to it. Let's go ahead and we'll close the main map viewer, and then we can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. As you can see here, zooming in and out, and then the page up and page down keys to rotate the camera. As soon as this tutorial completes, let's go ahead and rotate the camera a little bit. We get a little message about how you can access the setting menu to adjust your hotkeys. It's accessed via up here. And then, of course, about the fact that there's an autosave feature in the game, so the player really needs to adjust their hotkeys, they can just click here, settings, adjust hotkeys, and then they'll be able to review all of their hotkeys. Pretty super simple tutorial. I just wanted the player to kind of just gain immediate access to all of the controls and then let them loose into being able to discover and explore in the world. Really, the player only has about one button, and then if they try and run around anywhere, you can see that they're kind of locked off, and then you can try and come up here. Same thing's happening. There's kind of like a little pattern right here where there's this little green thing, this little green thing, and this little green thing. So I want to try and get the user to want to be able to cast a spell on this and see, oh hey, I'm going to be dealing damage. As you can see, so that's the basics of it. And then once they've learned how to cast spells, then the first thing that they're going to fight is an enemy that's right up about here. So very simple stuff. I think that kind of gets the point across. I don't really want any sort of heavy tutorials. I just want a lot of the basics covered so that the player knows what they're doing, but I want most of the exploration and all that left up to the player themselves to kind of discover on their own, because that's the most fun about playing games. Alright, for the rest of the changes, I'm actually just going to rapid fire through all of the adjustments just so we can get through as many clips as possible. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. The unit groups feature has actually been re-enabled, so actually we can check it out here. So if I hold down, for example, Shift 1, Control 1, makes a little group, and as you can see I can make another one, and then maybe another one, and then when I click them, I'll select, if I click one, I'll select all of the same 3 units, 2, just these 2, and then 3, just the single one. Next up is tooltips. In the 2D version of the game, you can just hover your mouse over most objects, and then you get a tooltip about it. As you can see here, if you hover your mouse over the disciple, get a little bit of a description about them. Just some simple, quick stuff, so health, mana, resistances, especially resistances that have been altered in some way. As you can see over here, the essence of nature, and also tell you how much nature you get when you defeat this enemy. To make the home and waypoint more distinct, I actually added a little yellow highlight when you hover your mouse over it. So as you can see here, I go back and forth, and this will just indicate to the player that they can click this, and then in this instance they can teleport all the units home, but in other instances such as the waypoint, they'll be able to just hover over, click it, and then teleport all their units to the waypoint. I thought this would be a more intuitive design so that you can just kind of hover your mouse over, see a little yellow outline, and then say, oh hey, I can interact with this, and then click it. Small adjustment to the disciple's death animation actually included the horns and the tail. Which looks way cooler than just the simple mask. Back to the home, I thought it would be way more intuitive if the clickables were just always popped up on the home. So as you can see here, you don't have to hover your mouse over it anymore. These are just popped up, and you can go ahead and hover your mouse over and start to click them. Next takes us into the hotkey menu. I actually adjusted the look and feel of all of this. As you can see, much larger icons. You can tell what hotkey is what. You can hop between the editable and the non-editable ones, so you can kind of get a little description of all of them. And then, of course, adjust all of your hotkeys from here in a much more direct manner. Next relates to the Discover tab. So as you can see here, we have seen this fire arc coil, but when I go into the Discover tab, as you can see, there's no tab for the enemies. So let's go ahead and kill it. As you can see, when it dies, we can go ahead and open up the Discover tab again. We see the creature, and then now we see the lesser arc coil. So this is a pretty big change, because now this makes it so that when you kill enemies, they only appear then in the Discover tab. Before, as soon as you saw them, you'd be able to see them in the Discover tab. But this Discover tab basically just gives you full information about them and what they're doing. On a lesser arc coil, it's a little bit more boring, but on bigger bosses and stronger enemies, you'll be wanting to read this a lot more, see the resistances, see all their health and stuff like that. And so this just limits it until after you've at least defeated one type of that enemy. Finally, the last major change, and this was more of a technical one than anything else. I couldn't have loading and quitting to the main menu functional. However, I did adjust it so now we can access the quit to the main menu feature. So let's go ahead and save. And we can go ahead and quit back to the main menu, and now we can go ahead and reload. Here we are back in the game. So, pretty major feature, at least for me. I had to do a good amount of adjustments just to make sure that can happen now in the 3D version, but if you remember from the 2D version, it was a lot simpler, where you can just do a simple load from the setting or the pause menu. but not anymore. This is just going to be a quit to main menu feature, so you have to quit back to the main menu if you'd like to reload your save. And I think that's okay. Going forward, there's going to be probably a lot better options for saving, but for right now it's just a single save file, so I'll leave it alone for now. So with all that being said, that completes actually the major coding element to the demo. I'm going to actually be heavily working on testing out the game, playing the game, and just making sure all of the bugs and other sorts of quirks are ironed out. But from there, we should be good, and we should be able to launch this demo pretty soon. Hope you guys look forward to it. And I should mention, if you'd like to get access to the demo as soon as it's available, go ahead and go to the link in the description and just download Fragment's Moonrise. It's currently free, and if you do so, once the demo update is pushed out, you'll be automatically upgraded from the 2D version into the 3D version of the game.